It's not totally dissimilar from what happened with the Nashville shooter, that woman who went into a lower school and killed 6 people at the Covenant School in Nashville, March 27th, 2023. We don't say the name of the mass shooters here, but it was a woman who was having gender dysphoria and was trying to become a male or wanted people to think of her as a male. And this was the case in which our audience may remember they refused to release the manifesto. They said it would be too disturbing, it would be too dangerous. And then about a year plus ago, Steven Crowder got his hands on at least a piece of the manifesto and released it. And this woman had all these bizarre trans fantasies involving having male sex, like she would be the male with her stuffed animals, and how if she would just go up to heaven after committing all these murders, she was sure God would put her in a boy body. Completely whitewashed. Like the media did not want to, the cops, nobody wanted to talk about the trans element of this woman's craziness, of her insanity. And now they finally concluded their investigation on this Covenant School killer, and they release a 48-page report, which does not include the word trans. It does not include the word trans. It has other passing references to some gender issues, but it's completely downplayed. It's like it was, basically not relevant to it. This is a little bit of the reporting. Despite needing more than 2 years to complete its investigation, the police department confirmed that this person acted alone, and during the attack itself, no one around the killer had knowledge that she was planning the attack, although her parents knew she had thoughts about killing her father. They found that her parents, her mental health providers, and the firearm retailers who sold her the weapons bore no responsibility and had no prior knowledge of her plans. And now they state in this conclusion that she didn't leave behind a manifesto, Michael, because it wasn't laid out in one single document. There's all sorts of justification for this. Listen to this. They write, early in the investigation, it was suggested that this shooter left behind a manifesto detailing her motives and intentions. By definition, a manifesto is a mission statement or other document written and disseminated by an individual or group to enumerate or expound upon the guiding principles and beliefs that inform their actions. Regardless of length, a manifesto is a single document that outlines all the factors, intentions, and objectives of an individual act or a series of actions. In this case, a manifesto did not exist. The shooter never left behind a single document explaining why she committed the act, why she specifically targeted the Covenant, and what she hoped to gain, if anything, with the attack. Really? Now they've been saying for 2 years that it would be too dangerous. They didn't think we could handle it. It's too disturbing. Now suddenly it's, it didn't exist because it was in the form of multiple documents and not just one. I feel like we're looking at parallel stories in a way here, where the shooter, the killer, is in a protected group about whom you are not allowed to say certain things or ask certain questions.
The excuse might as well be that manifestos are always saved as PDF files. And this was a DocX, so not a manifesto, not going to release it. It's so flimsy. It contradicts what they've been saying for years at this point. But of course, they were going to ignore the central feature here. We've been talking about red flags. We've been talking about the ideological and cultural insistence that we not acknowledge what's before our own eyes. So in this case, you want to know what a red flag might be? That you have a person who is as mentally ill as it is possible to be, a person who doesn't understand some of the most basic aspects of her own identity. I would like to know that as the parent of someone who is at a school. I would like to know if there are really crazy people, people who not only have a flawed perception of reality, but who are part of a group that is singularly violent and committing violence not only against others, but notably at unmatched rates against themselves. A group of people that has a real problem that a caring society would try to fix and remedy rather than affirm and make worse. That's the sort of thing that I would like. But that has to be ignored because the culture tells us that we have to exalt falsehood and we have to deny truth. So then, when one of these people flies off the handle, we all have to act surprised. I have been going out and speaking in public for, I don't know, 10 years or something now as part of my show and part of my public life. I've been attacked precisely on 2 occasions physically. Both times it was because I discussed the question of transgenderism. One time was right at the beginning of my speaking. The other time was a couple years ago. Some Antifa guy was so furious at my observation that transgenderism isn't real that he tried to blow me up when I was giving a speech, and he seriously injured a female police officer. I've talked about a lot of other issues, and it's not just me. There are many people on the right for whom this is the case. The minute you question the trans ideology, these people who are so obviously and notably insane will fly off the handle. Can we say that? I'll probably be censored from social media for acknowledging that right now. But let me just ask the people who insist
we're literally
that we not
talking about
reality.
a so-called trans person who killed 3 6-year-olds and 3 adults. It's absolutely factual in the case that we are discussing at this moment. Please keep going.
Without question. My question to them, by the way, who say that we need to lie to people in order to mollify them, that lies will set you free and the truth is cruel, a complete inversion of what we've known in our civilization for thousands of years. My question to them is, who does that serve? Is the trans-identifying girl who shot up the school and then was happily killed by a police officer, is she better off because of that? How about this kid, the perpetrator just yesterday, who murders a 17-year-old promising kid because he flies off the handle? Is he served well by just ignoring red flags? And that guy's life is over as well, and he's got to live with the grievous sin of having taken another life. Who benefits from living in a society full of lies? Nobody does. I mean, it's a total Faustian bargain. Give up the truth, live in lies, and then at least some people will be happy. And the conclusion of it is none of us are happy, and the whole society is degraded.
Just before we leave this subject, here's just a couple of statements that Steven Crowder reported on when he broke this story last year that did not wind up in the police report. That this shooter had written, "Can't believe I'm doing this, but I'm ready. I hope my victims aren't." Quote, "Kill those kids." Quote, "Going to fancy private schools with those fancy khakis and sports backpacks with their daddy's Mustangs and convertibles." Quote, "Want to kill all you little crackers, bunch of little faggots with your white privileges." Now, I'm sorry, but there is absolutely no reason why the final report should not include those statements. Here's more. The Tennessee Star reported on some of what was found in the manifesto documents, but not in the police report. The shooter wrote extensively about gender identity, her gender identity, including a 3-page entry the killer titled "My Imaginary Penis," in which she wrote about expressing sexual fantasies with stuffed animals. "I can pretend to be them and do the things boys do and experience my boy self. God, I'm such a pervert. I waste too much time in my fantasies." The shooter wrote a political rant in an entry dated 1 month prior in which she complained the U.S. fails to respect the rights of disabled people, gun owners, and transgender people. "So now because of you, I wish death on myself because of the pure hatred of my female gender." Quote, "If God won't give me a boy body in heaven, then Jesus is a faggot. Forgive me for these words. I can't be happy. I'm meant to die." How does this not wind up in the we cannot have the realities of these people who wind up committing individual murders or mass murders whitewashed for some sake of being sensitive to their particular. And by the way, one of the things that we also learn about the shooter that's not shocking is she was on the autism spectrum. And the reason I say it's not that people on the spectrum murder, it's that a lot of kids on the spectrum go down the gender rabbit hole. They tend to have the patience for a 3-hour session on Reddit. They can have obsessive thinking. And so they're particularly vulnerable to these online social media traps that are laid for kids who are not trans to start believing that they are. It's really no surprise to those of us who, cover these stories a lot, that this young woman had some sort of autism spectrum disorder and wound up getting sucked into this cult. It happens time and time again. Another thing you're not allowed to say. Another thing we may get censored for. It's just sick and tired of it, Michael. I know you are too. I've seen you get attacked. I mean, I've seen what's happened to you. And you were on the early edge of this. I'm really sick and tired of it. I care, I'm going to be honest, I care more about the life of the innocent kid who, Metcalf, who got killed than I do about these kids who have murder on their minds. I also care about them, but I just have to say, I'm not so sensitive that I can't discuss what really led to the murders. I'm really thinking more about preventing the next murder. Tariff wars, stubborn inflation, no wonder gold's been routinely hitting all-time highs. In volatile markets like the one we have now, don't sit on the sidelines. You can take control and safeguard your savings. That's why so many are turning to Birch Gold Group. They've helped tens of thousands convert an existing IRA or 401k into one in physical gold. It's time for you to hedge against the economic instability with gold. Text MK to 989898. Birch Gold will send you a free, no-obligation info kit. Text MK to 989898. A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, countless 5-star reviews. Birch Gold is there for you. MK to 989898 today. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.